Hello, Speak Fashion. I'm Tina Schenk and I'm the owner of Werkstatt. First job in New York, I was making Christmas ornaments for a store decoration, and the owner of the business that I was working for found out that I could sew, and he recommended me to work with this celebrity tailor. And I've literally gotten, up until about 3 years ago, so that was 12 years ago, and so for the next 9 years, every single job I've gotten came from that job, making Christmas ornaments, because it just led from one person to another. So through that next person I met another person, and then through that person I met Helmut Lang, and Helmut hired me full-time to be head of his atelier. After his company closed down, I was hired to oversee development for Karl Lagerfeld, and so it really was like one thing led to another, and it was really totally unexpected in many ways, but it was somewhat a perfect progression, really, in terms of also how my skills developed. And after I left Karl Lagerfeld, I worked for a couple of other companies, but starting with Karl Lagerfeld, I really had to work with a lot of vendors in the garment district, and we had a small atelier in-house, but most of the styles had to be done with other vendors, and I had a really hard time finding people, partially because it is really just hard to find who's out there, but also because there are just not that many quality people that I found that could really understand our vision. And so after being part of a lot of companies that started up and closed down again and started up, and seeing that there was sort of that type of a pattern in the garment industry here in New York too. I mean, it's fairly common for companies to open and then shut down, and it's a lot of work when you're involved in setting it up. I thought, well, I can do this. I can make patterns, and I understand what designers want, because I've been there. I've been a designer, and I understand proportions, and I understand quality, and so I started my own business, really not knowing very much about how to run a business, but that you sort of figure out along the way as well. I think I realized a long time ago that really I enjoy the technical aspect of the business a lot, and it's very tough to start your own label. It's also tough to start your own business, but at least I know that I have people buying my product, because really, if I start on something, then it's already sold. So in that respect, but I personally feel there's so many great fashion labels out there, and it's really hard competition. And what I see what I've seen over the years is that a lot of things aren't really all that different anymore. There are just small little details that change, but I felt for myself that I probably wouldn't have that much new to say in the market, so why not do something that I know I do really well, instead of being just another label. I see myself as a translator, right? Because I'm getting like a visual idea, I'm getting a sketch and I'm translating it into a three-dimensional object. So to me, this is much more satisfying. And really, I can help the people that have a lot to say it better, hopefully. I would say the ones that are successful know that it's teamwork. You can't do it yourself. And because that's why every design house has assistant designers. They have their fabric people, they have their trim people that develop trims and buttons and things like that. It's definitely teamwork. And you know, as a designer, you're getting all the credit anyway, so you know, you might as well accept that it's teamwork. Well, I work in many different ways, and so I have clients I work with that really trust me a lot, and so a lot of the information I'm getting, I'll be getting verbally, maybe with like a really quick gesture drawing, but they trust me enough to where they leave a lot of the decisions to me. Most of the time people like to have a little bit more control over the end product, which I understand, and so they'll come to me with a sketch. Sometimes they'll come to me with a sketch and maybe an inspirational picture, photograph, something that sort of gives me a feeling that they're looking for in the dress. And of course they bring fabrics and things like that, and so we'll you know, oftentimes, or most of the time, we'll also have a conversation about it, and I'll ask sort of how they envision the garment. Most of the time it will be more than one garment, so I get a little bit that I'm developing for one line, so I get a better idea of where they're going with the line, like what's the overall feeling that they're going for with this line. And so and so from there we'll develop a first pattern, and we'll either sometimes the designer comes in and looks at the muslin when we have it draped on the form, and we do some corrections there before we put it into paper. Sometimes, you know, we go straight into sewing the sample, and then there's a fitting with the model. Sure, I've seen garments hanging at Barney's that I've made, or on Gilt, those emails that are coming through, or yeah, definitely, or in advertising, or on billboards. It's definitely fun to see it, yes.